There's good news and there's bad news. I'll start with the good news. Steph Curry is fully healthy, and he is back in a major way with the game-high 39 points, 6 of 15 from the three-point line, 14 to 28 overall. The bad news is the Warriors went on a 5-minute scoring drought in the fourth quarter, enabling Minnesota to go on a 17-0 run. They withstood a Warriors run there in the fourth quarter, and they win by 7, 127 and 120 in the first meeting between these two clubs. Sister Western Conference semifinal matchup. We welcome everybody to Toyota Warriors postgame live here at the Gay House. To return to the Hall of Famer Chris Mullin, NBA champion Festus Ezeli, and my brother from another mother, Rod Brooks. I am Bonte Hill. Too much size, athleticism for Minnesota, and that scoring drought really did the Warriors in that fourth quarter.
Yeah, the end of the third, start of the fourth, as you said, Bonte, a 17-0 run. And I think Minnesota won this game. It was a clutch game, last 5 minutes, within 5 points. DiVincenzo made some huge three-point shots. I thought Julius Randle was great all night long. And the Warriors, I thought they played a good game. They couldn't knock down the three ball. You know, they took
46 threes.
46 threes. I thought a lot of them were open shots, good ball movement. But because of that, their assist numbers were down. The good thing is, as Fish just said, Steph looks really good coming off the thigh contusion. I think they have to figure out their bench. You know, I think Steve feels good about the guys he puts on the starting five, but the bench is kind of a crapshoot. You don't really know who's going to play, the rotations there. I think they got to figure that out. They really got to start making some hay here with 14 of 20 games at home.
I thought Minnesota played to their identity.
Yep.
All they do is they drive the ball. They have incredible athletes. They drive and wait for you to stop them. If you don't stop them, they get to the rim. If you do stop them, they hit the corners and they hit threes.
Yep.
Well, tonight, they weren't hitting threes either, so they just stayed with the drives. They just drive and got to the rim. They scored 66 points in the paint, and they punished the Warriors. When the Warriors went on their shooting drought, they didn't have an answer. Meanwhile, Minnesota was getting to the rim. They were getting layups. I thought this is one of those things that when I keep preaching points in the paint, this is what I'm talking about. Those points in the paint can help you kind of, like go through those tough times where the shots are not falling.
No, you're 100% correct. And Minnesota got back to their identity immediately when the second half started, when we went in there to watch the game. What did Minnesota do? Their first two buckets, direct line drives to the paint. Then their fourth bucket in the game, Rudy Gobert with the dunk. And that was the theme over and over and over again. A team like Minnesota being as big as they are. But then you look in the fourth quarter, Minnesota scored 39 points. 22 of those points were in the paint. So they stay with their identity. They kept just mashing the Warriors in the paint, just waiting for the timely three ball to fall. Eventually it did with Dante DiVincenzo.
Ooh, I got to give Dante a lot of credit.
Yeah,
Dante hit some big shots there towards the end of the game. Made up for some mistakes that he made towards the end, fouling Steph. Steph misses a free throw. But, yeah, just big shots by them and by Rudy.
I was yelling, that's a bad shot, that's a terrible shot. They went in.
Big time shot. They went under, but it was a 3-point game. He tied it up with that play. But Rod and Festus, to your point, a lot of those drives, McDaniels was dropping off to Rudy Gobert for dunks. Rudy had a huge night, all in the paint. And in turn, both teams struggled percentage-wise from the threes. The Warriors made 4 more, but the Timberwolves, because they were driving the paint, they wound up shooting 54% to the Warriors 45%. So much more efficiency. And I just thought, as Festus made a good point, the last 5 minutes of the game, they had a little more diversity. They weren't exclusively three-point shots. They made timely ones. But I think they really made the separation by driving the paint and getting points in the paint.
24-14 run. Hold on, let's pick up this fourth quarter tape, Rod. Let's get to it, the crunch time tape. Rudy Gobert with 24 and 14-0 run by the T-Wolves here, and they take a commanding 12-point lead, their biggest lead of the game. But then Steph Curry comes off the bench.
Great play out of a timeout, by the way,
Absolutely.
Steve Kerr. Getting something going to the basket. They were missing so many shots, and that broke the drought right there.
Yeah, 5-minute scoring drought as he fell there. And then Moody right there. Nice little hustle play right there. Offensive rebound to Stephen Curry, and you get the Warriors back into the game.
That's just God-given talent to Steph Curry that has been absolutely honed to perfection.
Man, Steph pushing the ball. Moses Moody from the corner.
This is a huge shot.
You know, there's life inside the Chase Center. Warriors all of a sudden down 4 with 4 minutes and change left in Minnesota. Nice play there by DeAnthony Melton. Welcome back to Anthony Melton. He's been dynamic since he's returned from the torn ACL. Moody slowing it down, and that's bad, man. Pump fake, fly by. Good night. Steph Curry from 3 over the top of the key. The Warriors are down 1 with 3 minutes to change. Even Anthony Edwards.
How bad
He's
is
fouling.
How crazy you got to be for the other team?
Hey, he's just happy for the dude that's wearing his shoes tonight.
Jimmy Butler, kind of a quiet night for Jimmy Buckets here. We'll get to that a little bit later, but Steph doing that thing again. 14 points in that fourth quarter. Again, he finished with 39 a game high. That was one of his 6 threes there. Moody with the layup. And next thing you know, you thought the Warriors may steal this one, Fezzi.
I got to give the Warriors a lot of credit for fighting to get back into this game because Minnesota, they were not letting up.
That was the yes shot, bully.
No,
yes.
no,
We were
no,
saying,
yes.
who's gonna
Coach Bonte was getting ready to take him out of the game.
and he shut me up in a heartbeat there. And then DiVincenzo, looking at Jay McDaniels. He made plays all night long.
just
Look at his
again.
plays.
Okay, big. Okay, big.
That's the way you finish in the paint.
Athleticism to get to the paint and in size that you can't do anything about in the paint.
17, 5 and 5 for McDaniels, and they didn't want you. Dante
want you.
DiVincenzo.
They didn't want you,
The dagger
Dante.
3 there.
He
That was
knows those
huge.
rims.
21 points for Dante DiVincenzo and 2 huge threes down the stretch. And the Warriors all of a sudden, we talked about this in a pregame show, Fezzi, 14 in the next 20 at home, where they lose this one. And all of a sudden, after starting off undefeated at home, 5-0, they're now 7-4 inside the chase.
This is a tough fought game. The Minnesota Timberwolves, their identity is to fight and to make everything physical, muck up the game. No Anthony Edwards, so they had to do that. Jaden McDaniels was the great guy at the point of defense going against Steph Curry, and everybody else followed suit. You could see Julius Randle, you could see Rudy Gobert. Everybody had to play a little bit more, a little bit better, did more, and I thought Rudy was one of the guys. He won that matchup with him and QP.
Absolutely.
He won the matchup and then decided the game. This is the way they attacked the paint.
And obviously Steph's heroics, that was a big part of the Warriors getting back into the game. But I just want to point out DeAnthony Melton in that closing lineup. And as we've been talking about either on camera or off camera, we see Melton's value, but we also see that, as you mentioned, that the Warriors have to find out what their rotations are. Steve Kerr said before the game, it's hard for him to figure it out. It's a challenge. Clearly, DeAnthony Melton's going to be in that closing lineup, but they have to figure something out as far as stability is concerned, because right now it does look like a mismatch. I mean, there was at one point, and we were kind of having a good laugh about this, the Warriors had Post, Spencer, Curry, Podziemski, and Santos on the court at one time. You want to talk about searching for lineups. That's searching.
Yeah, if you looked at all those clips, too, when the Warriors got that momentum going, when they made that comeback after the 17-0 drought, was on their defense. They were getting deflections, getting out running, and maybe more importantly, they weren't facing Minnesota's half-court defense, where they can get set up and really be physical and have Gobert, place where they want him. So really, the scramble situations really got them back in the game in the fourth quarter.
Now, this next graphic is going to be alarming for Dub Nation out there watching on their television screens, tablets, phones, computers, you name it. But missed opportunities, right? Most losses when leading after 3. You do not want to be on the list, bully, with the Washington Wizards. They have blown 5 games with going to the final frame with they lead.
Yeah, and I think this is directly related to what Rob was just saying. I simply put it as Steph Curry, non-Steph Curry minutes. Because when he leaves the game, most times they have a lead. What happens in between that is the bench.
Yeah.
Does that bench have confidence? Does it have rhythm and flow?
Does it have continuity?
Correct. So that I think is directly related to that.
Yeah, but they are on the list with the Denver Nuggets, so you can look at that as a good way, right?
I mean,
That would be the non-Jokic minutes.
Right, exactly. We got to find positives everywhere, right?
I'm trying, dog.
That's that propaganda, Ron, that we're talking about.
I mean, but here's what I saw. At the start of the fourth, the Warriors were leading. They're up 5. So coming into that fourth, I thought Minnesota turned up the heat defensively. And that 17-0 run, the Warriors kept shooting threes. And that's the way the Warriors play. But you have to find some diversity in the offense. You have to find a way to attack the paint. And it can't just be Steph. Because Steph was doing this thing. Obviously, he's going to attack the paint. He's going to find ways. But this is where the evolution and the Pat Spencer coming into the game is going to be important because you got to have another guy who's a ball handler, DeAnthony Melton, somebody who can break, at least get into the teeth of the defense, and then create offense for other guys. And I thought the Warriors lacked that there in the fourth to start.
Mully, let's break down the 17-0 run by the T-Wolves there. Again, the Warriors went on a scoring drought nearly 5 minutes before Steph Curry made that layup with about 5:35 left in the fourth quarter. Mully, go ahead, take it away.
96-91 here, open 3. Who's that, Nas?
Yes, sir.
He's going to knock that down. Again, out in transition, the Minnesota forces a miss. This is where all the easy baskets are for both teams.
Yeah.
Attack the rim.
T-Wolves take a 12-point lead after this run. And again, going to the basket. As you mentioned, Rod, They attacked from the opening tip at the beginning of the third quarter.
I mean, they
two
found
straight
that
layups.
mismatch. Even if it's not a mismatch, Nas Reed is a problem. When you get a mismatch on Pat Spencer, it's an even bigger problem. And as we mentioned, Gobert was just dropping dunks on her head in the second half the entire night.
Plus 16. Go ahead, Festus.
You got to give them a lot of credit because they changed their style of play. Last year, they had ball holders. This year, they are moving. There's Minnesota in the clutch and still finding ways to create shots for their teammates. Nas Reed, Jaden McDaniel, like everybody is creating shots for themselves first, and then when they get stopped, they're creating shots for their teammates. And layups easy for buckets at the rim.
We saw not one jumper in that entire clip. It was all to the paint. The Warriors were, and this is something we've been talking about really all year and for the past few years. When teams get on that vibe of we're going to go to the basket, the Warriors have no point of attack defense, and obviously nobody back there to make you stop from getting to the basket.
And I thought Julius Randle had a solid game. I know he didn't score a lot of points in the fourth quarter, but he made a lot of plays. Mully, his game has really evolved under Chris Finch.
Yeah, I think, and Chris Finch coached him in New Orleans. He had a good feel for Julius Randle's game. He was not just an isolation player, so he's more of a playmaker now. I thought he had a great first half, but you said, Bonte, in the second half became more of a playmaker. And to your point, Rod, they do spread just like any other team outside the three-point line. But if they're not wide open for a catch and shoot, it's almost an automatic drive to get to the paint to make something else happen. Sounds like a simple philosophy, but doing it is really important. And in turn, it diversifies your offense.
And Fezzi, this is why they're one of the most lethal offenses in the NBA. 127 tonight, and they didn't have the three-ball rolling. They're a top-5 team when it comes to three-point shooting in the NBA. Shot just 11 of 31 from the three-point line, but you get guys like Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels making plays for Rudy Gobert and getting into the teeth of the defense.
Yeah, 30 assists tells you the story. I mean, this is a team last year that just had ISO ball holders. Julius Randle, you have Anthony Edwards, both their stars. And coming into the season, they said, we're not going to be that anymore. We're going to move the ball and find ways to get other guys involved in the offense. Right now, the offense is incredible with Julius Randle in the game. I think he's a guy that understands what he brings to the floor. He can drive, he can get past defenses, and he can create for the bigs. I love the relationship that he has right now with Rudy Gobert. He keeps him active in the game. You saw a lob to him late in the game. You see passes from Nas Reed to Rudy. They're just finding ways to activate other guys, and that just makes Minnesota very, very dangerous in the clutch.
And here's what's an interesting watch about Minnesota. And Mully, you mentioned this before the game, how they don't have a point guard, and it's something that they're going to need to get. But tonight, that wasn't a problem for them. And I think with them understanding that their team-wide ethos is we're going to go to the basket come hell or high water, and you would rather have a point guard. But if everybody's on the same page with that, you can rock with it for a while anyway.
Yeah, I think that 19-6 run the Warriors went on, you could see it. DiVincenzo turnover.
Right.
But when they get in the half court, because of Chris Finch's system offensively, they move the ball, they get the ball in the right position with Randle, they space the floor, and they don't exclusively rely on that three-point shot. I just think, the whole league now is playing 5-out, draw and kick. It really, if you play that style, it's going to kind of lean towards the more athletic, quicker team because you're going to have a hard time, controlling the dribble drive. And when they get you in rotations, they really, the defense really collapses.
Yep. I'm really excited to break that tape down from the other perspective. We showed the offense for Minnesota, but for the Warriors, I thought they just started playing one-on-one. Minnesota took them out of exactly what they wanted to do. They want to move the ball. They want to play it from the three-point line. I thought they started playing one-on-one. I thought everybody relied on Steph and tried to see what he was going to create, as opposed to what got them to that position, which is everybody. Pat Spencer breaking down the defense. Jimmy Butler doing the same thing. I thought they got to standing and watching, and then they tried to make a run late. We got stops and run, but it was too late by then. The Minnesota Timberwolves already got going.
I thought Minnesota did a good job, though, on defending Jimmy Butler with longer, more athletic defenders. Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, Rudy Gobert at times, as well as Nas Reed. But you mentioned Steph Curry, Fezzi. Steph Curry made his return after missing 5 games due to a quad contusion. But you see what he's done overall in his last 8.
That boy good.
Those are MVP numbers, folks. Welcome back. 50% from the floor, 40 from 3.
And he missed 2 free throws. He was 50, 40, 90 coming in.
I mean, man, he just got back. Come on, Mully.
5 of 7 for the free throw line, Bully. Come on, Steph. You got to make those free throws. But he's on a heater, and I think that's important moving forward here with the Golden State Warriors. Portland, another athletic team they'll see on Sunday. The Phoenix Suns next weekend. Having Steph right is very important for this team moving forward, Bully.
Yeah, and I think, look, Steph came back, played an incredible game tonight, but it's really important for his teammates to understand his gravity, much like what Minnesota does off of Julius Randle. That next pass out is not automatically a shot. it's more times than not, if it's early in the shot clock, it's an automatic drive to get the defense in rotation to find a better shot. We talked about, relying on a three-point shot. To me, offensively, the best shot is an open shot. Now, like you talk about watching the tape, Fezzi, if they're open threes, a lot of times an open three is better than a contested two, especially with Gobert sitting down there. So you got to generate open looks. Now, if they happen to be threes, you're not knocking them down, you'll live with those. But ideally, you have a much more diversified offense. And, look, you got to give the credit to the Timberwolves. Physically, I thought they put a lot of pressure on the Warriors, running them, if they didn't shoot the three, make them contested twos.
I mean, this is Steph's first game back, and part of what we're trying to figure out is how is Steph going to fit, or how is the team going to fit in with the way they've been playing so far? Pat Spencer's been playing well, Guy Santos. How would that lineup and that rotation fit when Steph's gravity comes back into play, when his offense comes back into play? Obviously, his offense not going anywhere. He had 40 points, but the rest of the team, it seemed like when he got back, they kind of relaxed. It was like, let's watch Steph cook. I think when the Warriors are most effective is when Steph is attacking. He has that gravity, and guys can fill into that space. Draymond does that very well. He's able to pick and roll, get to the paint, create shots for other guys. This is for QP. QP is developing that right now. He's finding ways to be that guy. I saw some great plays from him, but I think the Warriors are trying to find ways to do that consistently. It's a good first game back, but they're going to continue to build on that chemistry.
I am excited about the future of Steph being able to play with Pat Spencer and also Anthony Melton. You're going to get more than 20 minutes a game out of Melton as he continues to play, but clearly there is something there with both of those guys.
I mean, really what stuck out tonight is the size and athleticism, right? That's the biggest thing that Minnesota took advantage of, and it let them create better shots offensively. And I thought defensively they were really physical, and it wore the Warriors down.
Yeah, they ended up out-rebounding the Warriors tonight, 44-42. Warriors were a +7 at the half, but they lose tonight to the T-Wolves 127-120 despite Steph's efforts with 39 points, a game high. We'll hear from the chef on the other side here on Toyota Warriors post-game live. And, of course, we'll look ahead to Portland and hear from others here on the post-game show.
Toyota Warriors post-game live is presented by Toyota. Class-leading MPG and more hybrid models than any other brand.